Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
The OnCourse podcast is an IVM production. And if you like this show, check out Geek Fruit for in-depth conversations about pop culture, science fiction, and overall nerd culture. You don't want to miss this.
You're listening to the OnCourse podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome to the OnCourse podcast. OnCourse is a creative and alternate education company that aims to bridge the gap between formal classroom education and real-world skills. We offer a range of programs from short skill-based courses to test prep to application assistance for those who are looking to study abroad. My name is Alisha Mashruwala and I'm the CEO and co-founder at OnCourse.
Hi guys, my name is Akhil Laswani. I'm the COO and co-founder of OnCourse. We're in studio today with Rikhil Parsuram as part of our Alumni series to chat a little bit about Bentley University.
Hi guys, good to be back.
Hi Rikhil, thanks for joining us today. So I think just to kind of get started a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about what you would do in an undergraduate business program, since Bentley is primarily focused on business, and kind of how the course is structured, those sort of things?
Okay. So obviously Bentley is primarily a business school. And you'll see about 90% of the kids there want to study something within business. The way it basically works, now obviously Bentley is in Waltham in Massachusetts, which is about 20 minutes away from Boston in the US. And I think you'll see most kids over there. I'm sort of interested in that business degree, but they're not sure yet about what they want to do. So they all come in with a management major. And essentially the way it works is everyone has to study a business core. Right, so what that basically involves is, as a freshman and a sophomore at Bentley, you're going to have to take a certain number of required classes which introduce you to every single business field, whether that's finance, accounting, marketing, management, operations, and a host of other classes. The whole point of that is to build your rounded knowledge within business. Right, and I think it's towards the end of the first year and midway between the second year where, students tend to have a better idea about what they want to major in. At which point you obviously, pick your specialization. So taking my own example, I was undecided when I went in as to what I wanted to major in, but I knew I wanted to study business. So, I think in my first year itself, and I was always good on the quantitative side. So in the first year itself, I really liked my finance classes. For me, it was kind of a clear decision that, obviously wanted to major in finance. So I then ended up specializing in that. And I think that's where you obviously get your major, right, which is the whole purpose of specialization. Is once you've picked your major, that's when you take all your in-depth classes within that. So that was my major, and we'll get into maybe other things you can study later.
Sure.
So, obviously someone who goes to business school is very focused on business, right? But what about their other interests, right? So what if I'm interested in other liberal arts-based subjects like psychology or English? Do I have choices to take those sort of classes also?
Yes. So actually, it's probably worth me making a slight distinction as well. Obviously, most business schools are part of universities which also offer a whole host of other courses within the liberal arts and engineering and you name it. But for Bentley in particular, they're primarily a business school, right? So you can't major in certain things, like they don't have a psychology major, for example, right? But they have certain liberal arts majors, not too much variety. But even though, I studied a whole business core and I had a business major, I still managed to minor in psychology, which is obviously taking about 5 or 6 classes within the field. And also as part of your graduation requirements, you have to take base English classes, you have to take base math classes, base economics classes, a history class, a philosophy class, things like that, which would be part of the liberal arts curriculum.
So I guess in that sense, it's still pretty holistic as the US education kind of is.
Yes. I mean, it's still holistic. So, even though choosing business narrows you down to a certain field, you're not giving up the whole liberal arts curriculum that the US is known for. In that sense, you're not really missing out too much.
So what makes Bentley a little bit different from, say, other business schools, So whether it's like Boston University or something like NYU Stern?
Okay, so when you look at schools like Boston University or NYU, you're dealing with really big universities. Obviously, their business schools are, one section of what they offer as a curriculum, right? And you can obviously choose to major in various different things at those schools. With Bentley, it's a lot smaller. Their total undergraduate class size is about 1,000 kids each year, that is. And essentially, if you had to compare it to something, it's like the business version of a small liberal arts college, right? So yeah, it's a very tight-knit community. Because most people there are studying business, you tend to sort of have a similar crowd of people. And because it's so small, you tend to end up having a class with almost everyone at some point or the other.
Is that why you chose Bentley as opposed to the bigger schools?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the reasons. Bentley was also one of the schools I'd actually visited once before I'd been there. So, obviously the size helped, right? Because coming from schools in India where, my class size went from, say, 40 kids and eventually to 30 kids, and then I took the IB in high school, which was even lesser kids. I was definitely more suited to that kind of system rather than, a class size with about 100, 200 kids in it. I think the attention is just something that, it matters to me a lot.
Awesome. So Rikhil, why don't you walk us through your 4 years? What did you study? What were some of the best classes you took? What are classes that you hated?
I mean, I actually didn't hate too many classes. I actually don't think I missed a single class in 4 years, which sounds kind of strange, but it's actually happened. But so yeah, as I said before, I majored in finance. So I took a whole host of classes in that, which obviously were all focused on building my finance foundation. But I also took some accounting classes. I took 3 marketing classes. My favorite class at Bentley was actually a negotiating class I took. Something I actually used the knowledge to build a seminar for OnCourse itself. So that was definitely one that stuck with me very much. But on the sort of non-business side, which is also the second part of it, which I really liked, is I took a lot of psychology classes. Something which became apparent to me when I actually went to Bentley was that they had a really good psychology department in terms of their faculty. I was able to sort of click with those professors very easily. And it was very soon that I decided I was going to minor in that. Which also actually tends to be a feature of business schools, because psychology is such a big part of business in itself. That I feel like you tend to have a decent psych program at most business schools.
So did you end up doing in your last year some sort of thesis or any honors essay or anything of that sort?
Yes, I finished with a thesis in behavioral finance, which is basically I focused on the irrational factors that come into human decision making about their money. Right, so that was my final thesis in my senior year, which was actually a good combination of my 2 sort of focuses, which is business and psychology. So yeah, that's something that was called a capstone project at Bentley.
And in terms of the environment, so in terms of the student body at Bentley, were there a lot of international students, or were most of the students from different parts of the US?
Okay, so Bentley is very diverse in the sense that they will have a certain number of kids from a lot of different countries you never thought you'd meet. But having said that, a bulk of their population comes from the northeast of the US. You'll see that most of their students are local residents of Massachusetts or New Jersey or Connecticut or New York. So they're all states around the area, of course. So in that sense, it is definitely, it does definitely have a very concentrated American population. But there are a whole lot of nationalities that go to Bentley as well.
Okay, we're in conversation with Rikhil and we'll take a short break, and once we get back, we'll continue talking about Bentley.
Long, long ago, not in Bethlehem, but in a place nearby, there was a wonderful birth of a huge show, which I like to call Cyrus Says, a show that encapsulates everything in human history, from the first Homo sapien to the last Homo sapien. Who's traversed the entire world and then come back to India. This is a show which tells you everything about everything. If you want to know, avoid Google, come to us. It's called Cyrus Says. Get new episodes every Monday on the IVM podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts on. You get 1 banana water free with every podcast. Right. I'll just check that.
Hi guys, welcome back. We're in conversation with Rikhil, chatting about Bentley and his experience over there. So Rikhil, you've given us a lot of good information so far on Bentley, right? So something for the kids. Some of the kids who are looking at, a little bit more than just the academic life. Right. What's the social scene like at Bentley?
It's a strange question. There's a mixed social scene at Bentley. It's obviously close enough to Boston where, a lot of people do like to go out into Boston on the weekends. But on campus, it's not the biggest fraternity life. I would definitely have to say that. They do have fraternities on campus, and that is social fraternities and business fraternities, which again, there are a lot of people who join them, but it's not exactly their most prominent feature. right? But social life otherwise is very good, and I think this is a feature again of a lot of smaller colleges, where because there's so few kids on campus, everyone tends to know everyone else. So in that sense, there's a good community feel about it.
And what about any sort of clubs and organizations that students can join? So whether it's something linked to what they want to study, or whether it's something just related to a passion, like say music or sports or something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, just like again, in most colleges you'll find this as well. It's not too different at Bentley. There's a whole host of social student organizations which focus on, either a certain passion or like different sports or basically anything you can think about. And obviously they also have a lot of things on the professional and business front, which, obviously students tend to use as a networking base. A whole host of like investment groups and entrepreneurship societies and just, accounting groups and things like that.
So were you part of any of the clubs and organizations on campus?
A lot of them, as a freshman, you tend to be super enthusiastic. I signed up for a whole host of them in the beginning. Towards the end of it, I think I stuck to just a couple. So my actually favorite one on the social front was to be a part of the poker club. And on the professional front, I was part of the investment group and also the entrepreneurship society. But it's all part of the experience, more to meet people, discuss things, other than, what's going on in classes.
So Bentley is really well known for its trading room, right? That's something which a lot of parents sort of ask us, and that's something which, it's just sort of become famous for. So does it live up to the hype?
It does live up to the hype in the sense that, it's about a state of the art in terms of finance technology that you can get. And I think, when it comes to Bentley, a big part of their mission as a school is to have you prepared for the corporate world and the professional world. Their whole sort of assumption as a college is that, the students that graduate from there will want to work in a job. So the whole point of that trading room, apart from, the fact that you can use it for your classes in terms of research and things like that, is obviously to prepare you for the professional world when you actually work as an analyst at a financial firm or something like that.
So just to backtrack a little bit, what exactly is the trading room? How do students kind of get involved with it? What are some of the advantages and benefits of that?
I mean, look, as a student, there are two ways to be involved with it. One is obviously if you're doing research for a class, you will have access to it for free. And obviously, you can actually work at the trading room as well. There's a position at Bentley where as a student, you can be responsible for investing part of the university's money. Right, and that's all using the trading room resources. It's a very rare position to get, so it's no promises being made over here. But in terms of the actual trading room, it's obviously got the state-of-the-art technology that all financial firms are using. And I don't know what they're using right now, but back when I was in school, they were using Bloomberg a lot. So just getting to know how to use the Bloomberg terminal was something new in itself, not something you get to see in a normal sort of website like a Yahoo Finance or something like that.
Interesting. And kind of going into sort of how you said Bentley is trying to prepare students for sort of the professional world and for jobs. What is it like to, apply for jobs from Bentley? How helpful are the career services, or how do you usually go about something like that?
Okay, so another thing about, being a smaller university is that the alumni is a lot more tight-knit. And as I was saying earlier, a lot of them come from the tri-state area. So, a lot of them tend to stay there. And obviously, it's a tricky one, obviously, but when it comes to getting a job out of Bentley, their networks are strongest in the Massachusetts, Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey area, right? So in terms of being connected to firms over there, whether, they do it through an alumni connection or whether the actual firm comes to campus for recruitment, they're very good on that front, right? And I think it's something where if you're looking to be within business, there'll always be a connection for you. Right, but it's tricky for, a slightly different jobs. Like if you want to be a journalist, you're not likely to get the right connections at Bentley.
So, obviously, given your current role at OnCourse, working closely with high school students, Bentley is a school which is getting harder and harder, which we've seen every year. Do you have any advice for, high school students and parents at this stage in terms of what they should be doing to maximize their chances of admission?
You obviously want to keep your grades up as much as you can. That's your school grades from the 9th grade all the way to the 12th grade. You obviously, Bentley also needs the SAT or the ACT, so you want to try and have a good score over there. Just as a general piece of advice, if you're looking at schools like Bentley in particular, another one that springs to mind with a similar profile is Babson, where, they are primarily business schools, and, it's one of those things where it's probably best if you know you want to study business before you go there, because if you change your mind, then you're probably not going to find the greatest liberal arts curriculum at schools like that, right? So my advice to people going in to schools like Bentley is, if you want to study business, you'll find exactly what you're looking for. You'll find just the right kind of crowd. It's something where if you're not going to change your mind, you'll be great.
And what kind of students do you think fit into a place like Bentley as opposed to some of the larger universities? You want to be academically focused, but at the same time, it's not a school where you'll be absolutely up to your neck in work. There's a good amount of balance between your social life and your academic life. But in terms of the comparison between that and other colleges, obviously the other colleges could be a lot bigger, right? And you might have a sort of different peer group. At Bentley, you're going to meet people who are mostly studying business, right? So it's important to know that before you go in. And what about any sort of scholarships or financial aid or anything that Bentley may provide?
So Bentley does offer scholarships to international students. When I went, I got the presidential scholarship, and that's something they still offer, which covers a large chunk of your tuition. So, it's something that's definitely on the table if you can keep your grades up during high school and have a good test score. Something you can actually consider. So, given that education costs are not coming down anytime soon, it's something which could help.
Awesome. So, thanks, Rikhil. It was really good having you in the studio.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I think we had a really good conversation.
And thanks for giving us a good insight into Bentley. And for those of you who would like some more information or who have any more questions, you can visit our website, www.oncourseglobal.com. You could follow us on Facebook or Twitter, and you could write to us at info@oncourseglobal.com.
एक्सक्यूज मी भैया, एक्सक्यूज मी.
बोलिए मैडम.
मेन्यू में क्या है?
मेन्यू में सीन अनसीन है, पॉडकास्ट है, ऑन कोर्स है, साइरस है, मेड इन इंडिया, रीडिस्कवरी प्रोजेक्ट, एम्पावरिंग सीरीज, सेक्स वैक्स है, IVM लाइक्स है, सिंप्लीफाइड है, कीपिंग इट क्वियर है, ड्रिंक्स एंड डेस्टिनेशंस है, माय नेबर सकरबर्ग है और द फैन गराज है. आपको क्या चाहिए?
एक बार रिपीट कर देंगे क्या?
रिपीट नहीं करता हम. आप जाओ IVMpodcast.com पे और सुनो ये सब, या फिर डाउनलोड करो उनका ऐप. सब आपकी उंगलियों पे.